Okay, so everyone, welcome. I am so excited to be here. This has been, gosh, for someone like me, that anybody that knows me, I know Melissa knows me, but I'm a very I like to get things done right away. And this has been the longest I have nurtured something. It's been a working in progress since mid-July, since I moved to Florida. I've been working on this. So I am so excited to finally be able to put it out there. Part of me is like, okay, I just want to get it out. I am done holding this. And I've been trying to really make the message be more clear, because sometimes I feel like sometimes I'm like ahead, I'm like in a cloud and I speak very in my way, and getting that across can be difficult. So thank you for being here. Thank you for saying yes. And before we get started, today is day one. This is now called, it has changed for those of you that noticed the different changes. And to be completely transparent, the changes were because the message was not getting across. So create soul-led programs beyond the one-on-one. This is a 3-day live training. Today is day one, and we're going to start with reconnecting with your soul's calling and gifts. And then we're going to meet again. We're going to meet again on Wednesday at noon Eastern time, 9 a.m. Pacific, to then talk about how to create a plan that you can create these programs while taking into consideration your well-being and current season of life. And I feel like this part is like the heart of it, as I was really thinking about it, because a lot of places can do the number 3, which is Friday. We're going to kind of create the overall vision of that. And I'm going to talk about 5 different ways that you can do it beyond the one-on-one. But what a lot of programs don't have out there is how can you put this, like today, like reconnecting with what you're here to do. And number 2, how can you fit this into your life? I'm a mom of 2 little ones. And actually today, my oldest is here because I had to move the lunch because my husband was traveling last week. And what I was saying, sorry, I saw your comment, Julia and Dr. Julie. Coming back, that's the piece of trainings. Okay, coming back. So geez, I forgot what I was saying. Oh, yes. So a lot of places, they don't necessarily take in consideration that piece. Like, how can you fit all these ideas? Like, you can learn how to create anything, but how can you fit it in your life that it doesn't perpetuate cycles of like patriarchal way of functioning, or oppressing yourself, overworking, undercharging. When I started, there was that, which is still like a lot of people are doing. And I'm seeing that right now in Instagram, that you can get like, you have to pay to get some information extra from people, like memberships, but people were charging like $9 or something and doing material that was a lot, and it takes a while. And in my mind, I was like, why are we doing this? Why are we undercharging and continuing cycles of that? And I am done with that. And that's what on Wednesday we're going to talk about. How can we fit this great ideas, grandiose ideas that you probably have into your daily life, so that way you don't perpetuate cycles that can actually put you again into a burnout position. That's not what this is about. It will be interactive, so please share your questions in the chat, like I mentioned, or in the questions section. I'm new with the questions section, so if you see that I don't responded, I have so many things that I'm looking in the camera right now, but if you see that I'm not responding, maybe put it in the chat, like, hey, I put it in the question box. And then at the end, I'm going to be here for like several minutes. If there's, we can have more an interaction of questions of anything that comes today. Remember to download the workbook. And if anybody has not received it, let me know later on and I can send it afterwards. It was sent yesterday and today as well. And a recording will be provided, I'm hoping by this afternoon. And the cool thing is, if you attend the 3 days, and what I'll do is I'll take a picture of the participants in a bit. And if you attend the 3 of them, on Friday, I will allow to do like a live coaching and help to also, this will be very beneficial for everyone. So that could be a live exercise, an example of how to put this in practice. I'm taking a picture right now of that. Okay. So I will also share today. The other cool thing is that today is also, we're opening the doors for Rooted and Rising for fall 2022. And that's what I've been, when I mentioned I've been working, that's what I've been really devoting the most since July, really sitting down. I had some coaches that sat with me and were like, wait, what are you doing? What is your methodology? And I was able to sit down and really get rooted, more rooted into it. So we're also going to talk a little bit about that at the end. And for those interested, later on, I'll put the link because we're starting the opening of it. But regardless if you join, something I think is very important is that I really pour a lot for these 3 days to be beneficial regardless of. And the cameras on or off, it's all good. So don't feel pressure to keep them on. So let's begin with a little bit about me. For anybody that's kind of newer in my arena or space, I wanted to share, and I'm opening here. Yeah. Wanted to share a little bit about me so that way you understand who am I and a little bit of my gifts and where I'm coming. So I was this little one here. And I like this picture. It's a very old picture. This probably is like dated circa 90, 88 or something like that. I'm telling my age, but it was in a wedding, and this is my youngest aunt, and I was really close to her, and she was, a teenager or a young adult with some of her other cousins, and they were like posing here, and I wanted to do the same that they were doing. And that was me. I was that vivacious, very active. I love dancing. There's a lot of pictures of me like standing in tables, dancing and acting, all of that. Over here I am with my grandma. The first time I went to see the snow, we went to visit one of my aunts, and my grandma's, I don't know if you're seeing, she's like doing a smirk or something with her lips. She was very silly, and she is still one of my guiding angels right now. She's no longer in this realm, but we had a very deep connection. And for anybody that keeps calling me Lydia, which is not Lydia, my name is Lydiana, but my grandma's name is Lydia. So I come, and it was a mix of Lydia and Diana. My mom's name is Diana, but I used to be offended and be like, I'm not Lydia, I'm Lydiana. But now I'm like, I take it as an honor because I'm very close to my grandma, and I feel blessed that that was part of my life. Over here, we all met. We're all mainly girl cousins. It was only the male in the family. And my grandfather, who was very into males and all that, we would call him chancletero in Puerto Rico because they were all girls. He was not alive when my male cousin was born, but we were all here meeting when my grandmother passed away, and we all made shirts of the order. And of course, on my shirt that we would put like a personality. They would put me like drama queen or something. Like, again, I was that very, from people might say I was a drama queen. For me, I would just be like, I know what I want and I'm clear about it. And now I'm racing one. So I know how hard that is. My Luna, it's very much like that. And it's so hard. I did follow what I thought, I wanted to help people from early on. I was that adolescent, that girl that people would come to and share their deepest secrets. I even went to traveling to Europe with people that I did not know. And I remember being there and random people telling me about their traumas and their stories. And I'm like, why me? But I was that person. So I was like, well, let me study psychology. And in Puerto Rico, most people you can get with a master's in counseling psychology, you can get a license, but clinical and all the other ones require a doctorate. So I decided to pursue a doctorate, even though it was in counseling psychology, because I wanted to get more opportunities. And that was me in my picture on my graduation day. And I then I did my internship in Children's Institute in LA. I work also for the Child and Family Development Center of Providence, what it used to be called St. John's in Santa Monica. Then I went to work as a supervisor for the Chicago School. I supervised a cohort. It was about 8 students that were doing their practicum at an LA mission. It was in downtown with the homeless population. Around that time, I had my son, and I'm like, this is too much. This is not for me. I was feeling that I was not resonating with the field. Most of my peers were very much okay into being that martyr, that working hard, overworking, being okay with not getting paid enough. And that was not resonating with me, especially after having my oldest. And we were in LA by ourselves without family. Anyone that lives away from family can understand. It was like, if I am needing to pay for a babysitter, I need to get paid almost at least 3 times what I'm paying the babysitter. And that was not the case. So I was really, really frustrated. I was really frustrated with the way the profession was working. So then I was like, even though I never thought of a private practice, I went and opened my private practice, and this was my office, which is a whole story that I'm not going to share right now, but it was a very beautiful serendipity of how I got it. I was able to decorate it. I loved the setting. But then when this was growing, I let go of all the jobs that I was doing and I went solely on it. And I felt like an entrepreneur and so proud of myself. And like about a year, I was like, what am I doing? I'm doing the same that when I was here. Yes, I don't have a supervisor. I don't have billable hours that I need to do, but I'm working even more than when I was working here. And why am I doing that? If I did go on my own, so I could create a more sustainable life. So it was like a second time that I fell really, really hard into the floor and was like, what's going on with me? And then I started thinking there's something wrong with me. Like, why am I quote unquote addicted to work? Or why am I doing all these things? And there's also something very important. I come from a family of like strong genetic components that are, cancer in my family. And part of that is women that have not been nourishing themselves or self-care and all that, the overgiver, the following that Virgin Mary kind of standard and all that. And I am trying to do as much as I can preventative so I don't end up that way. So that means eating healthier, having less stress and all that. So doing this solely was not sustaining or promoting that life. So then I was like, okay, there has to be something else. So then I launched my podcast, The Beyond Resilience Life. And this is the new picture. If anybody was used to the old one, we recently we changed it. And I really like this. It was really helpful, but again, I was basically funding it all because anybody that has a podcast, yes, okay, you can record it, you can learn to edit it, you can do all those things, but there still are going to be some expenses that you have to make. And I was doing that. And because I was having a little baby, I was delegating the whole process of publishing and all that to someone, and I was paying them. So, and then to the website and all those things and the equipment and all those things, they are expenses. So then life kept moving. I had my second daughter, pandemic came, and then I'm like, this is not sustainable for now, the Beyond Resilience Live podcast. It was a beautiful journey. I have over 100 episodes in English and in Spanish. But then I was like, there's a new thing that's bubbling inside of me. There's a new thing that I want to talk about. And that's when licensed psychologist now what came through. And this one is more about the stories of people, what they have done to dismantle these ideas of the box that you have to be and to create whatever you want to. And I put it on hold right now because I move. And again, I'm trying to really embody this, what I'm teaching, which is like really do things that are promoting a well-being, a style of life that it's good for you. So right now it's on hold, but it's coming back and I am just allowing it to brew. Then, and this is the last image about me. Over here, there's an image, and Eli Mari, who's there, Dr. Eli Mari, we used to dance in Puerto Rico, but over here, and this is one of the latest dance that I did when I was in LA. I was part of the Agape movement. And this is me. And it was such a lovely, I remember if that piece, what the name, we performed it in a theater in Hollywood, which it was really cool. So I love dancing. I grew up dancing. Dancing for me was my saving grace. And in Puerto Rico, we did it a lot. We did a lot of dances that I would feel embarrassed to talk about, of the costumes that we had to wear. But dancing for me was my avenue and was my creative source. I also love speaking. I've been to Univision. I used to go to Univision in LA a lot. I mean, not a lot, but like several times. And I love speaking. I love doing all that. They keep calling me sometimes, but now I'm also being more, they don't pay and all that. And I'm being more of like, is this what I want to talk about? Because there's not that many Spanish speaking psychologists or psychotherapists that are like fully bilingual and feel comfortable with speaking Spanish. And that's my first language. So they would call me a lot for all these themes. And at the beginning, I was like, yep, I'll talk about it. Yep. And then I'm like, no, I want to talk about what I want to talk about. I don't want to talk about just because I speak Spanish. So now I've just, a lot of those times I just, refer someone else that I feel like it's in the field. And this is my family. Here's with Luna, the little one who's 2, and who I was saying that she's very much like me. She likes to, she's very picky when she's eating. And I remember being told too sensitive, too dramatic, too specific, all those things. And she's doing that. And to parent her, it's a blessing in that way, like I'm seeing, but it's also really hard. So, and it's also, I need a lot of like inner child healing as I'm doing that. And then my oldest, Tiago, it's also very much of very pushing the boundaries, questioning things the same. Like I was like that. So a lot of inner child healing over here. And I don't work with little ones. I am processing all that. And I'm looking for my own therapy for all that thing. So for anyone that needs any child therapist, there's other ones here. There's even Dr. Melissa, she does testing and all these things. But I'm not into little ones. I am in the midst of it. And then I wanted to add this picture. I just changed it right before the presentation because I feel like this is very important. I am getting out the closet of my spiritual side. And I think this part is very important because Rooted and Rising has a lot of that. And what I am here talking about, which is like reconnecting with your soul's gates, have a lot about that. And it has come as I've continued to foster my own relationship with my spirituality. And this is me in my office earlier today. I have my crystals that I charged them in the last full moon. I have here my elephant that represents, I love elephants. We went to Thailand in 2018 or 19, and it was beautiful. And I have here a lion that you cannot see, but represents to bring back, because I feel like a lot of what I did throughout these years, a lot of what I did was getting myself in a box. And as a psychologist and anybody else that is a therapist, healer, coach here can relate to, sometimes you morph and you become a shapeshifter to whatever the person needs because you're helping them, right? And we have to put our values and our beliefs to the side. So then sometimes we become like a neutral person. And I got lost in that. And that was also because of my upbringing in my family, Catholic and very specific. So now I'm just getting out of the closet slowly but surely. This is the room where my parents sleep when they come to visit, and I leave all these things out. They can interpret whatever they want. I have my candles, my stuff, and the smell of Palo Santo and all that. But I am slowly coming out, and I am really excited about it because I'm also letting my intuition guide me more. Before, I would be the person that if I would be sitting to do this, I would find a book. I need to find a book. So it would be like a theory that I can hold myself to. And I'm like, no, it would just confusing. It would just kept getting me somewhere else. So that's the story about me. So now let's switch it about you. And before I do that, I would like to ask in the chat if you can share something about you, if you can share anything that you want about your story. And it can be something, as short as your profession, where you live, and all those kind of things. And as you do that, I'm going to put here this big slide. Okay. You can put them on or not. I'll read them in a bit. So now let's focus back on you. This is about you. And I wanted to start with talking about this reconnecting with your soul's gifts. And a lot of time, one of the hardest that I've noticed working with coaching people in this is that they have no idea what are their gifts. Society, and if you're born into a community that have been minoritized, society tends to like to put you in a specific box and a specific thing, and you follow things. And then if you're in a regulated profession, there's so much fear at the beginning of like, oh my God, if I do that, I'm going to get my license, they're going to revoke my license. And it makes completely sense because, you know why? Because you've took all these years to study, all these years, and the investment is not only the time investment, because it's a time investment. A lot of time we talk about the debt that we have in terms of financial, but it's a time investment. I remember when I was finishing my doctorate, I did it all together. So I was like 27 because my birthday is in August. That's why I think I was 26 when I actually got my doctorate. And during that time, I was like seeing already people buying their homes, building their businesses. And that was barely when I was quote unquote starting my profession, because I had my degree. I was doctora, but I felt like shit, that's the word, because I did not have the experience. I was getting paid less than people that were 26 and my colleagues or not colleagues, like friends that were that same age that did not even had a degree. And it was so like disorienting. It's like, oh wait, now I start my life. So I feel like I started my life later and I was so indoctrinated of just following rules, waiting for somebody else to grade my work, even my dissertation, everything. So of course I'm going to get disconnected from my gifts. So as I'm saying this, I am reading some of you. Thank you for sharing in private practice. Cool, CFDC, yes. Um, Testing, feeling like in a box. Albeli, hola. Dominicana, I love it. And your twins are now 15 months. I remember when they were, yeah, in motherhood. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, coming out of the spiritual closet. I think we should do like a group post about it. Yes, I love it. Hypnotherapist, EFT practitioner, Reiki. I also took a pranic healing, like level 1, the Catholic community mental health. Oh, cool. And Maria, didn't know you do the brain gut disorders. Yeah, your baby. Oh, I love it. You have the doctorate in art therapy, Vanessa. You know, I almost went to do a master's and I'm like, what are you doing? Like, just take courses and enjoy it that way. Like, no more higher education. Clinical psychology. Thank you everyone for sharing all that information. And you can see, you can connect with these others as well. This is part of that, like building some community now that we're here, you know, sharing about, I feel in a box as well, or I also shared that experience. There's not many, it's not that there's not many of us, is we're not sharing this enough. That's why I actually created Licensed Psychologist Now What, and I want to bring that back because I want to just bring it out and start talking about it because the profession, it's so old in many ways. Okay. So going back to that inner gifts. So the piece that I was talking is like not knowing. So over here I have some examples for some that I know that many of you, space holders. And a lot of times we really diminish this one. Space holders are so important because it's just that energetic field that we sense when we're like, when somebody's a space holder for us, that we can be whoever, we can share whatever. And that's a skill. If not, go outside and share something, even just like a random person, just share something that's going on, like, oh, I'm not feeling good. And you'll hear all these crazy things that will come from people's mouth. Listeners, understanding, really understanding, communication skills of being able to find things around it and all that. Reminding folks of their own power and truth. And a lot of these gifts are more of like, there's a word for that, when they're not necessarily like tangible, but they're very important. Processing difficult emotions and traumas that are stuck and impairing functioning. How much of that it's impairing our world right now? Like if a lot of more people would at least become more conscious. This is not like everybody needs to process it all, because I'm also not into that. But if people process a little bit more, able to validate and recognize their emotions as opposed to go automatically into a fight mode or flee mode or any of that, at least to have that consciousness and to practice something so they can stay with it, how different our world would be. We educate people, we help promote prevention, we promote wellness and well-being. And sometimes even to our own, you know, we sacrifice our own to do this. And that's exactly what we're going to talk on Wednesday of like, nope, no more. This is not okay. Releasing anger and other difficult emotions. We bring peace. Sometimes we're in rooms like when we do family work or group work, and we can bring that sense of peace into that room. And even sometimes to a peace that they have never experienced. I remember when working with dyads and family work. Return to health. How many people are able, because of your services, to be able to wake up and get out of their bed, to be able to walk again, to eat well, to enjoy going outside for those that do health coaching and all that? This is so important. To leave toxic situations and relationships, to work on repairing attachment wounds. This is just a little list of some of the gifts that I know many of you have. Now, how these gifts help our world? It helps with preventing and managing conflict, human beings living authentically. Imagine if we like, well, let's say I could be an idealist. Let me just put myself in that hat right now. If at least 80% of people would be living authentically and doing what they came here to do, imagine just how that would be. Like they will, like you will be able to do your role because nobody's using that or being there just because that's the way to make money or whatever. They're doing their own thing and everybody is doing their own thing. Human beings being able to manage their emotions. I mentioned that. I mentioned the peace, joy, respect, including for nature. That is a big one. I've been sensing it lately with communities that have, that experience poverty and that are oppressed, and that perpetuates that, and their impact of how they manage nature. There's no respect because they're so disconnected from nature. They don't sense how just throwing trash outside is impacting them. They see it a whole disconnection, and they're also like in a very different mode. Community building, less illnesses, equity, managing power and control in a healthy way. Imagine a world with no systemic oppression. I know that's a big one, but just bringing it here. Those are some. I wanted to add this image, well, this video of a ripple effect. And probably you've heard that, maybe even in some trainings that you've done in trauma about how the ripple effect, but I really invite you to see it. And whenever you do something, you make a change, you help someone. I remember a supervisor that told me this, that when you, let's say, because I used to work in full service partnership and Children's Institute in LA. And in that program, I would go to their homes and do everything. And I remember being like, I don't think we're doing anything here. What they need is one, X, Y, Z and all that. And it's true. And at the same time, they would be like, Liliana, this, like, if you do this little change, if you expand it, how much more possibilities that person has because of that little small. The same happened right now with Ian. They kept talking about that. The Hurricane Ian, I remember remembering that supervisor. Like Ian made a little shift to the right and that changed completely the cone. And that's why it went southern that they expected. So any little shift that you make, even though it might feel small right now, it might be bigger down the road. So really think about that. And our work, it's so important. Even how we present in a room can be healing for others. So never like diminish that. Now I have to bring this, but we're going to talk more about this and create a plan on Wednesday. But what are some of the factors that impact our healing gifts? And some of these images, you also have it in the workbook. So, and I believe this one. So family of origin, and that's a big one. And I know inner child healing and all those things can be really helpful, but really think about your family of origin, how that impacted not only like what they told about your healing gifts, but also how did they manage their own healing gifts and all that. This is part of the work that I like to do for Rooted and Rising. When we have the virtual retreat, we go a little bit deeper into our family of origin and figure out what are those things, including generational trauma. Personal experiences that you've had, traumas, beliefs, work influence, systems of oppression, parental responsibilities, age, financial situations, health, education, culture, and there could be so many more. But a lot of times those can kind of like impact and get you back into a safety box. And you're like, I don't want to get out of here because it's scary to get out of the closet. It's scary to share that about me. It's scary to do that because I can I already created a belief that people that do that, it's X, Y, and Z, or I'm afraid that something bad is going to happen, or this is how I stay safe. This is how I've stayed safe in my family. So coming out right now means I could be in danger, and there could be, we can go on and on. But today, it's all about starting that journey. If you haven't, I mean, I bet you have. This is not like I'm not a savior in any of that, but reclaiming your inherited gifts and callings. And I love this image of the puzzle because it's like you're putting it all back together, and it's a journey. It doesn't end, but that's the call today. How can you start? And I put the word, I know there's been some beef about the word reclaiming. There's a beef about a lot of words, but for me, it really resonates because I feel like in a way, I am reclaiming a lot. Growing up in Puerto Rico, I was told that the Tainos were extinguished when, like, really soon after the Spaniards got them. And I learned via a client who is of Mexican descent that there's still accounts talking about Taino from a Mexican client. And I'm like, and in my 30s, and it felt like, who told me this lie, and why was I told all these lies? So for me, I am in a reclamation journey. That's why I like using that word, because I am reclaiming those things that were already mine and were there, but they were done that way as a way to oppress me, because to keep me disconnected. So that's why I'm using the word reclaiming, or sometimes reconnecting. But we have a, especially as a woman of color, I feel like I'm doing that, and I'm giving a call for you also to start reclaiming what are those inherited gifts and calling that have been shut down, that you've been, that people have pushed down, and you've continued to do that because you're afraid. And how can you reclaim them and remember them? And we're going to start a little bit with that path that it goes back within. So right now, if you have your workbook, my invitation is to get it. There's this page, I don't know the name, the number of it. And we're going to start. I'm going to give about, let's give 5 minutes. Yeah, let's give 5 minutes, because I want to have a lot more time for the meditation. Let's give 5 minutes. I'm going to put it here in the timer for writing all those gifts that you have. And if you don't have the workbook, just in a piece of paper, writing them. I'm going to put back this in case you need some of them, if in case you need them to help you, those some of the gifts that I know a lot of you may have. And let's do that. Let's make the list. I'm going to put some music here. Put it here. Just make a list of all the things that you know that you are some of your gifts. There's like about 1 more minute. Okay. Okay. Hmm. Before we do a little bit of, again, some sharing in the chat, my invitation is to look at the list, regardless of how many you put or not. Just go back into your body and notice, like, if you want to do a scanning, or just notice what sensations, feelings, and thoughts emerge as you see this list without any expectation of changing or any of that, just for you to see it, to notice. And I'm feeling the need of saying, inviting you to say, all is welcome, all is part of. And notice what happens afterwards as you do that. And now slowly, if your eyes were closed, you can slowly open them. If you were in a gaze, slowly coming back here and coming back to the room where you are. Maybe thinking in your mind what day of the week it is. And it doesn't matter if you if you mess that up, it's just something to say. Where are you located? What time of the day is for you? And if you want to share in the chat anything, like a lot of times doing exercises like this for some can be challenging, of sitting down and thinking, what am I good at? Where are some of my gifts? There's so many reasons about it, but I'm just going to say that for so many, that could be so hard. Or for some, it could be surprising. And the list that I made is more of the unseen. There's also a lot of the seen, if you're good at, I don't know, like crafting or with the art. There was someone that mentioned that they were, Vanessa, the doctorate in art therapy. I don't know if you're also into art and stuff, but there could be so many skills like presentations and all this kind of things. But the reason I wanted to focus on the unseen is because those quote unquote soft skills, and I hate using that term because again, then there's stronger, but those unseen gifts are so important, but we keep focusing on the seen one, which is more on that kind of going along the masculine energy and all that sometimes can become the masculine toxic energy of the getting things done and all that. But they're so important. Both are important, both. I am reading a book that I strongly recommend. I am loving it. I feel like I cannot get, I bought the audiobook and I also bought the ebook, And sometimes I'm glad I did that, because there's the author, Rebecca Campbell, it's a book, Rise, Woman, Rise. She's Aussie, and there's some pieces in the with the accent that I cannot understand. So, but I am loving it. And this book, I feel like, put this kind of thing here that I wanted to add as a way to reflect. So the questions are, what are you being or have been accused of being too much? Too much sensitive, too dramatic, too honest, too passionate, too energetic, whatever that is that somebody has criticized you of being too much. And this could be an exercise that you can do later on, but I just wanted to add it here. All of them. Yeah, I know. And that is but then if you look at this from that perspective, that is your unique strength. And again, when I did for licensed psychologist, not what I did I believe it's a 4-part episode of my story. And it was so healing. And I feel like I still need to do more of that, because I started realizing when I was sharing when I was a child, again, they would see me too dramatic, too que me quejaba mucho, like I wanted things in a specific way, like demanding or sensitive. My body has always been very sensitive. From early on, I had stomach issues and I couldn't eat like junk food that people ate or drank. I couldn't have Coke or hot dogs or pizza and things. So all those things, they're my unique strength, because that helps me with other things that I'll go. But yes, too passive. Yeah. So now let's look at the other one. So that anything that you've been accused of too much, too loud. But these skills put in the right place are so important. Like being loud in advocacy or in places, or in creating it in a way, can be so helpful. Being passive to help people kind of just learn to sit in their space and reflect and all that can be so helpful. Being dramatic can be so helpful in arts and in drama, and so it's like all these things can be really good in specific places. Second question, what does your unique strength demands of you in order to nurture it? This question in itself, it's a gold nugget. Let me repeat it. What does your unique strength demand? So like too passive, too loud, too dramatic, too passionate, any of that. What does it demand of you in order to nurture it? And then whatever that is your medicine. So for me, I'm going to give my example. It was the too sensitive to food, to toxicity, to all that. Then what helps me to nurture it is to really like eat healthier, be more in nature, silence. And that is my medicine. That's how I re-nurture myself. Of somebody asked a membership that I'm part of, like, if you would have all the money, what would you be spending? I'm like, oh, all these supplements, all these healthy things, all these smoothies and stuff, and buying the fruits or having a chef. All those things are part of my medicine, and they're unique to me, and some other people might share that. But for you, like, for example, too passive, too loud, too dramatic, all that, what does it demands of you in order to nurture? So that's your medicine for you to take. The next question, how can you realign your life so that your medicine could be alchemized into medicine for the world? And that is your gift to the world. So going along with my example, for me, in that part of too sensitive and all that, the retrieving, the nurturing, like my spirituality and all those kind of things, from this perspective, if I simplify it, that's part of my gift to the world, which in a way is very along with the whole rooted and rising and what I'm, moving into doing, which is more like getting people to take a pause, to go within, because that's what helps me. That's my medicina. So that's part of my gift to the world. And then this other question, it's a whole thing in itself. What did you need to hear growing up? And Rebecca recommends doing like a timeline of, and I probably gonna add this and more to the retreat. But Rebecca recommended doing a timeline of your life. And you know how a lot of us that are here, psychotherapists, we do this, good things that happen. A lot of times we put like up the good things, down the bad things, or the other way around, or whatever, in the middle, the neutral, whatever. And you do a timeline. And then in those significant moments that pop up, ask yourself, what did you need it to hear? And start writing those things. And then look if there is a pattern. And most likely that is your message. So for me, as I'm doing this, when I was in those agencies, community agencies, I wish I heard someone say, this is not for everyone and this is not sustainable. And we're crazy doing this thing. We're saying that we're helping others, but we're not. I wish I was hearing that from fellow colleagues and supervisors being like, what we're doing here, it's crazy, it's not sustainable, especially for people like, for everybody, but especially for people like me that are more sensitive in terms of body and all that. And nobody said that to me. Nobody ever validated. I felt like I was the crazy one leaving because it's like, well, you chose this profession. This is what it is. You're not going to get paid. You're not going to get rich. You know how many times I heard that throughout my career in university? So really think about what were the messages that you needed to hear? And that is your message. And a lot of people are in that place that you're no longer, hopefully, or like still, evolving from, and they would need that message. Or even for you as inner child or younger parts, healing, telling that to yourself, validating that to yourself. I wish somebody, when I was younger, when I didn't want to eat just arroz con carne with my grandma, and I was like, I want like guineo, which is banana, or platanito maduro. Like and sometimes I'm like, I don't want rice today. I wish somebody would have been like, perhaps rice doesn't do well for you. But I'm Puerto Rican. How can, nobody would say that. Every day people would eat rice and stuff like that. But those little things, and I wish somebody would validate. So really think about this formula in itself. I really like it. And the book, I strongly recommend it. So now we're getting ready for the guided meditation to explore your soul's gifts. So before we get started, my invitation, I have to use the music from the iPad because I'm sharing the screen for this technical part and I cannot share the music as far as I know. The name of the book is Rise Woman Rise. I believe that's the name. Rebecca Campbell. She's also the author of one of my favorite decks. This is one of my recent images from that deck. This is the Starseed Oracle. She has many others. Her decks are the ones that speak to me the most. I feel like maybe our souls in a previous life or something, but yeah, Rebecca Campbell. Okay, so getting ready for the meditation. My invitation is, if you have a place that you like to kind of be more present, you can either close your eyes if that feels safe for you. You can just keep them open. You'll be surprised. Lately, I've been integrating that more with some clients, especially the ones that have chronic trauma. And initially they're like, oh, I'm not going to be able to do anything with my eyes open. It's not like they are open. They're like gazing somewhere and they get so much more. So I invite you to play around. If you want to close your eyes, keep them open. Also, getting comfortable. If you're sitting, you know how they say ideally to have your feet in the ground, but you do you. Find what, and this, I bet this is not the first time you've done a guided meditation, especially if you're here. So find whatever works for you. And before I start talking, I'm going to play again the music. And I want to make sure that it's not too loud because I know I hate when I'm in meditations and that happen. So let me know if you can hear it a little bit, but it's like you can still hear my voice. I cannot. Okay. Oh, wait. Yeah. Can you hear me? Somebody put in. Yeah. Okay, good. This is a good way. Perfect. So let me move that out of the way. Okay. It's going to be like a 7-minute meditation in case those like to know what's coming up ahead. So let's start by coming back to the present. And when I say coming back to the present, I'm actually mean to the here and now, becoming aware of your body. Just noticing sensations, becoming aware of your body temperature, and even like, how's the temperature outside or like in the room that you are? Is it the same that your body temperature? Is it different? Just notice. Become aware of your heartbeat, of your breathing. And perhaps some of you are starting to feel the body feel heavier or not. And the invitation now is to imagine that you are in a beautiful garden for any 90s kids, like the Secret Garden movie, or if you have not seen that movie, then just a garden of your like. And become aware of the flowers that are here booming. And there's a rose. There's a rose somewhere that is captivating your eyes. It's captivating your eyes with the petals and how it opened and the shape. And it's bringing back that medicine for you. That they're there, just blooming, regardless if some are blooming next to her or them or not. That's their role here, is to bloom. And as you do that, you're going to shift your attention to like a little door somewhere, like a little secret door, a beautiful door for you. And you're going to start becoming curious about it and start walking towards this. And as you're getting close to it, you're noticing this door, the material of the door, the colors. And you're going to look at the doorknob and see it. And eventually you're going to put your hand with an attempt to open. But right before you open the door, you get this message that on the other side, you're going to enter a room and you're going to meet the soul of your offerings and what is coming here to emerge and your gifts. So as you become aware of that, you're like, okay. And you open that doorknob and you go into that room and you close the door. And at the beginning, you're just going to notice this room. You're still alone in this room for now. You're going to notice this room around. And in a bit, you're going to start seeing it could be well ancestors, guides. It could be like, can look like people. It can look like animals. It can look like beings. But these are the group of people that are there supporting you. And again, if you're going to include any ancestor, make sure that they're well ancestors and they have their back for you. They're there supporting. And as you're welcoming them, they're going to make an acknowledgement with you that they're seeing you, and they're going to position themselves in the room that feels the more supportive for you. And as they settle in, the invitation is for you to feel their support. It's kind of like imagine that you can rest backwards and they're there holding you. And now the anticipation is coming. Very soon you're going to start meeting a being is going to come and they're going to represent the soul of those gifts that are there for you to bring forward into this life. They're coming your way. You're feeling the support of your guides, well ancestors, and they're greeting you. And for this next few minutes, we're going to start a conversation. They're going to share with you a message. Listen. I am here to offer what I need from you is and any other message or conversation, communication that you want to have with them. This is the time. In the next few seconds, we're going to start that process of ending the conversation, thanking them for the messages received, and asking them to give you a sign of how they communicate to you. And they're giving you that sign. It could be like in a form of an object or an intuition that you get a message. And then they're gonna greet you one more time and acknowledge you, make eye contact, or in a way that they're saying that we got you, I see you. And they're gonna start walking back towards the way that they came through. And then your group of guides, beings, well ancestors, they're also going to start part their way. But before they do so, they're also going to make eye contact or a way of greeting you one last time before saying goodbye. And slowly but surely, all of them are leaving the room and you're back being there by yourself. You're going to take one more look before you leave that room, and you're going to start looking at the door where you came through. But before you open the door, you're going to acknowledge that this is in your mind. This is a place that you can come at any moment to reconnect this way or in a different way. And then you open the door and you close it and you're back in that garden. And perhaps notice if there's any change in the garden or not. And as you do that, we're going to slowly come back here by sensing your limbs, fluttering your fingers and arms. Noticing your body, your breath, your heartbeat, your body temperature. Reorienting to the sounds here in the room. And as you do that, I'm going to give like about 5 minutes so you can journal about it and write. if journaling is not your thing, there's an exercise that somebody taught me that it was so helpful, which is just get the pen, or if you're typing, and don't stop. Don't pull it up. Even if you're writing, I have no idea what I'm writing, just do that and see and notice what happens. And I'm actually going to give 3 minutes instead of 5 for that. So that's the invitation starting right now. 3 minutes. Let's put in some background sound here. 40 more seconds. Okay. Spotify right here. Pause. Okay. So before we go into one of the last slides before talking about rooted and rising, I want to go back to this. Where was it? Sorry. This list. If you can go back and see the list that you initially wrote. And the invitation is to see it with curiosity. Also noticing what's going on in your body as you're looking at the list. And noticing if there is any shift after the meditation. Just a little exercise, and I'll ask in a bit. Okay. So before we go into other ways, this is another time of just sharing a little bit. And what I'm going to do, because I feel the call right now to offer that space if somebody wants to share what came through, I'm going to pause the recording and then re-put it so that way. So if somebody wants to actually talk, we have like 5 minutes to do 5 minutes to do this. And at the end, I'm also going to have time for questions. But if anybody wants to share anything that, yeah, I want to give that space, I'm going to pause the recording. Oh, sorry. Well, yeah. Pause the recording. Okay. Thank you for all the shares. You will have this recording so you can go back. It was like about 50 something minutes into the presentation. So that way you can have it and you'll be interested if you want to do it again and see what comes, or even to practice something along the lines for you. So this slide, I love it. It's like different 10 ways to continue reconnecting with your soul's callings and gifts. This is again a journey. This is not destiny until we leave this earth, right? And here are 10 that I like. So number one, any spiritual practice that you allow space to receive messages. Yesterday I did an amazing, beautiful one from Rebecca Campbell's book, Rise, Woman, Rise. And I've never done with candles like in front of me, to the sides, and in the back. I mean, I had to lock the door. And of course, my son comes and I'm like, not now, get out. I'm like, it was like I'm something that I'm curious about and I am exploring more in my own spiritual journey are candles. So having that setup of like a candle in front, on the sides, and in the back was like amazing. And then allowing to receive the messages. That is for me, but it's like find whatever works for you. Also music. Spotify is like one of my spiritual tools. Like I have found so many beautiful songs, and that's what I was doing. I would put in different songs. I did a little bit of oracle cards, and then I just stay there and allow messages to receive. So I really strongly advise that a beautiful way to continue connecting with that soul of your offerings. And in that way, what I didn't bring was context. So one of my previous mentors, Nisha Moodley, talks very much about the soul of the business and the importance of collaborating with what you're here bringing forward as opposed to you doing it all. So then there's that idea of, because she is part of her lineage is from India, so she comes more from that animist culture, which in my culture, it also, like if you bring the indigenous communities, the Tainos, they were also more animist. So I'm also kind of reclaiming that a little bit, and the Africans that came to Puerto Rico as well. So but is that aspect of like, it's not you that's creating this, is this like mastermind idea came through and it came to you because this is how I see it, you have the tools to bring it forward in this world. So when you collaborate with that, then it feels less, at least for me, that it's me, or yeah, it feels like, okay, let's collaborate. And sometimes I get ideas and I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm not in a position right now to do that. Maybe go somewhere else, someone that has it's not right. Yeah, it's not going through what I'm going through. But I love that idea of collaboration. So that's what I mean with this connecting with the soul of your business and gifts. Connecting with nature. Earlier today, to continue being grounded, because I was somewhat nervous last week. I was outside and I was walking, I was connecting with nature and that sense of the earth and how that's like a field of opportunities, which that piece came to my mind. I'm like, this ground right now has all these seeds that are just here coming through. And if I plant something, this is the field of opportunity. And I'm like, how can we tap into the field of opportunity of life? And that was just a message that I got this morning. I came inside and my husband was like, okay, whatever. I'm like, oh my God, the ground is like the field of opportunities. But that's connecting with nature can give you, or even just witnessing and holding, being in supportive communities, that is so important. Finding, I know right now there's a lot of things about using your tribe to tribu, if that is not in your lineage, but like finding whoever is that group that can support you and can hold you in this craziness that sometimes comes into our minds and our ideas. Dream work. Some people are very into it. Cultural practice, ancestral work. They can be so beautiful, like that reclamation and that reconnection. Asking loved ones, people that really see the best in you. Mindfulness practice and meditation. Resting and slowing down. This one is key. When we're like in a rush and we're like that, it's going to be impossible to really get those messages, or those messages to have the enough time. Like if you are the soil, that soil to be the best for that seed to kind of, break, bloom, and all that kind of stuff. Because it takes a while. It's not that easy. But the slowing down and resting and being nourished and being supported is what's going to make that soil more fertile. Journaling, for those that like to write. Having fun. Having fun is so key. It's especially if you come from experiences or lineages that have experienced like they were not able to have fun. Having fun is a way of healing, is a way of allowing our space. That's why a lot of people say that in vacations they get all these ideas and all that. But like having fun, it's so important. And I like to include that. And something that I like to mention is that this of reconnecting with your soul's calling and collaborating and going within, it's the first pillar of Rooted and Rising. And actually, that's how it was birthed. As I kept doing this, as I kept connecting, as I kept like listening and all that, I got the name. I got the name while doing yoga. Before it was called like mental health practitioner mentorship program, something shit like that, like a huge name. But I was doing yoga and the teacher said, get rooted and rise up. And I'm like, that's the name, because I was asking for the name. But it was through that, it was through different practices that I kept going with patience, lots of patience. So talking about that, now we're going to transition and to talking about Rooted and Rising. And then when I'm done with this, I'm going to open, I'm going to stop the recording, and I'm going to answer questions. So today we open. I am like all mixed feelings because I'm like nervous. It's been so long, but I am wanting to say that I'm changing this a little bit to a 4-month mentorship for women and femmes, psychotherapists, healers, and coaches that want to overcome self-doubt, overworking and undercharging, and feeling like an imposter to bring forward their soul-led Beyond One-on-One service program in a sustainable way. And we start in November. And this time I'm having 3 pillars to make it clear of what I'm doing. And the first one is that inner guidance. So it's very much on you going within. You have the answers within. I am just a vessel, a facilitator to help you go back within. But that for me is so important. And that whatever even I share, that the person then goes within and be able to be like, that resonates, that doesn't. And, the second pillar is well-being. I am in a healing journey and also other people. And I really strive that as a trauma informed approach to coaching and all that, that my work is also to help the healers. And if you don't have well-being, then how can you really do work that is sustainable out there? So that is very important, of finding ways that you feel supported, nurture, and talking about that, and putting whatever plans still within a reasonable way that goes along with your life. This is not staying overnight, working on weekends and missing your kids' practice if you have that, or all that. That's not what I like promote or even do. Yes, sometimes I work on weekends and stuff like that, but I balance it. It's not always. And then community. I'm really big about building community. Community heals, and building community of like-minded folks that are also in this healing journey of healing the way they work, building forward these gifts in a way that are going to impact the world, but they're also going to be sustainable for them. It's a big, big thing for me. So this is the newer, updated version of what you will gain from it. So you will learn practical ways to create and sell Beyond One-on-One offerings. And some of the previous participants, one of them was working and did a group for moms, for new moms. The other one was building a center, a healing center in the town. And the other one was working more on doing workshops. I had another one that was she was working on like helping supervisors supervise people from Latinx or Latinx, Latino, Latine, Hispanic, however you want to call them, heritage. So really like using those skills. And the other one was working with people that in the court system. So, but wanting to help teach therapists to how to work in those kind of things. So there's a lot of different ways that we can do our healing um, services in a different way. And that's what I like to do. Have a mindful pause. I was really sitting down and rooted and rising. It's kind of like a mindful pause. At the beginning, we start with a retreat and is really to reflect on all these things that we started today talking about. Increase your awareness of what continues to get in the way of pursuing your calling and doing what you envision and want to do. This is not mindset only. There's a lot of things that get in the way. A lot of it has to do with survival skills that we had to do in order to endure. So how can we work on them, recognize them? And if there's some that we can work on regulating and processing, increasing our tolerance for distress and all that, then we do it. And the other ones, we just accept it and work around them. Increasing confidence in your skills and gifts enough to break internalized oppression factors that get in the way of you shining, which is one of the biggest one that I see. Build a deeper connection with your inner guidance and allow its compass to direct your next moves. Learn tools to finally launch or plan your launch, your therapreneur or healer business. Learn and practice sustainable business practices like using your cycle or the moon or times of the year, all those kind of things. Finding ways of delegating and creating systems that can run and you don't have to do it all those things can help you build a sustainable. And besides of that, there's also, we're going to talk more about this on Wednesday, of other things like the impact that you have in nature and in all the things in the world, like really working on building. So this is one of the things that we're going to talk a lot on Wednesday. Have the opportunity to build community with other like-minded psychotherapists, healers, and coaches that could develop into future collaboration, business partners, colleagues, and friends. Accountability to help you put into practice and action your soul gives and calling, and building a secure relationship with your soul gives, which is one of the things that I'm most excited about, that you build that relationship with in that collaboration. So what's included? So here's how it's going to look. At the beginning, we have a Heal the Healer virtual retreat that this year is going to be Friday and Saturday. Friday, November 4th, I believe, and Saturday, November 5th. And it's going to be from 10 to 4 Eastern time, so 7 to 1 Pacific. And over there, we're going to go a little more in depth of what we started today. And it's going to be this time, I'm still like letting it marinate, but it's going to be more embodied. It's going to be way more embodied practices to really go deeper into those. We're also going to have, like I usually have, a guest speaker who's going to do a cacao ceremony, and they are in Mexico. So yeah, we'll do it virtual, obviously, but that's why we're doing that time, because I need to send cacao to all of you who join. The other thing is there's a Soulful Therapreneur digital course that has pre-recorded on marketing, how to start your practice, how to do an online course, all those kind of things are already pre-recorded. And they're there and you have unlimited access. And if I change and update it, you have access for it until I end up using like doing online businesses, which right now there's no expiration date. Here's how the months will look like. Every month, we're going to start with the first Wednesday. We're going to do a soulful business connection, which is going to be more of like doing exercises to go back and connect with your intuition, your inner compass. And we're going to divide it in different themes, like who are you here to serve, your gifts, and what way, and all the things. Then the second Wednesday is going to be group coaching, and we're going to meet together. And then it's like, okay, whatever ideas you got, how can you put them into like the real life and what coaching? And everybody gets a participation. This is not like a 5-minute. So if the group becomes larger than for me to feel, then I might divide that. But I really want to at least everybody have at least 10 to 15 minutes of sharing and getting feedback in each of those group coaching calls. The other thing is on the third Wednesday, then we're going to actually have some time devoted to put in practice. So this is where the accountability comes. It's like, okay, you got that insight. Here we gave you these recommendations. So this third week, you set time to do the work, like get online and do the start creating the website, whatever you need to do. The times would be at 12 noon. So that's why I'm doing this at 12 noon. It will be 12 noon. And depending on the group, it would be an hour and a half or a 2 hour, at least the group coaching. The other calls will be an hour and a half. And then, so those are the 3 calls that are happening, group calls on a month. Besides this, there's also one-on-one coaching, 1 per month. And that is scheduled on your, on the time that works for you and for me. And that is also to go deeper into what you want to create. And that's an hour of coaching per month. So it's going to be 4 calls of that. The community aspect, in the past, the group has been smaller and we've done like WhatsApp. If the group is bigger and want to do like something like Mighty Network or a different something like that, I usually try to stay away from Facebook groups, but yeah, we can figure whatever. If WhatsApp works, or any other kind of similar that could be work. And these 3 bonuses, I am so excited. So my current coach is going to be the one who's going to teach this. So they are launch manager and like marketing and all that. So they're going to teach about create and grow your email list with a funnel. And for anybody that goes like, what the heck is a funnel? It's just, it's just, what's the word? How do you get people into you? And it's a whole technical thing. The bonus number 2, and yes, if you have to go, this all will be in the recording. So, and I'll also send the links. So, and then the technology needed depending on your needs. This is a big one for people because they go like, I don't want to use all the different technology and they're confused about. So how can you start small, but use the technology that you need? And then the third one is email marketing. Social media has its place, but there's nothing like email marketing. It's still like the gold standard as well. If you want to do social media, video, YouTube, but social media, email marketing is so important in an online business. So starting with that. So those are the bonuses. And then here are the investment options. So the regular price this year with the adding and all that will be 4,000 or 4 payments plans of 1,000. And then there's a sliding scale, but it will be limited to only 2 spots of 3,000 or 4 payment plans of 750. For the sliding scale is first come, first serve. There's not going to be like a questionnaire that you have to do to justify why you need a sliding scale. I'm just going to trust that if you're requesting that is because you have that need. And then what I'm excited is that there's different offers. The one is if somebody joins before Friday. So after today, I'm going to put here in a link of the application. I'm also going to send you emails with that. But if anybody completes the application and I think they're a great fit and I send them the link and they join by Friday, then they're going to have 2 extra follow-up calls with me after. One is going to be 1 month after and the other one a second month after. Also, if anybody joins with the full price, they'll be entered in a raffle and I'll give back 50%. So then the price would actually be 2,000, but that will only apply if you join via the 4,000. And that has to be that you join in by Friday. So application by Thursday. And the funding, covering the funding of training, let's talk about that later because I do have someone in a coaching plan right now and their work paid for it. So we can talk about it. I'm excited that people get creative to find the ways of the investment. But yeah, let's talk about that later. And to join, you need to apply and qualify and you will receive a link to join via email. And I'm going to put here in the chat. So for those of you that are still here, I know some of you had to leave. You're going to have, oops. Of course, I took that out. So join by Friday at 7 p.m. 7 p.m. Pacific, Eastern time. And then, but if you apply and I don't send it right away and I think you're good, then definitely we're going to talk about it, but it's more like that. And then, oops. So I send the application link and now I'm going to send the page with more information. And this page with more information has the link to the application. I am going to send you email with that after the call. So just also see it there. But that's basically the whole information. There's going to be the application. If somebody wants to have a call with me, they're like, you can also do that. I am not making that as a mandatory because the application is kind of comprehensive. My coach was like, wow, you asked a lot of questions. I'm like, I really want to get people. This is not just getting anybody. I really want to, like, I'm envisioning, I'm calling up to 8 women and femmes that are wanting to do the work and that are ready to get, like into that space. So it is not like anybody, and it has to be people that are psychotherapists, healers, and coaches that already started their business. They're not new, and that's what they do. So it's not someone that's in their undergrad or doing something on the side. It's more because most of the people that join are there. The previous were psychotherapies, psychologists, and I also had someone that they had a master's in counseling and we're starting that center. So it doesn't have to be, again, a psychotherapist, but in that field of mental health or betterment of, well-being. So that's why the application is comprehensive. And yeah, so applying and joining. So I send the link, and if the person joins by Friday, then they get that option to get into that raffle and also the extra 2 calls. So that's basically the information. Thank you for your attention. And now I'm going to be here before I stop the recording. I'm just going to say thank you so much for joining. Regardless if you join or not, Rooted and Rising, even though we're starting the process. Remember, on Wednesday, we're going to talk about how to create a plan that goes along, your soul gives with your life, and that supports your well-being. And then on Friday, we're going to then talk about 5 different ways on how to create something beyond the one-on-one. And I'm going to coach someone in the middle of the call that we're going to talk about it so everybody can benefit from that example. So thank you so much. I'm going to stop the recording.